Class of 1967. I'm Neil Ginsberg, and with me today is Stefanie Grant Parizer, who is also a fellow graduate, obviously. And Stefanie, you and I both started off by moving into Greystone. What do you remember about that, and do you still have any relationship to it?
Oh my gosh, yes. I moved there just the summer before first grade. I did end up going first grade. Um, and my parents, befriended a lot of people, and they had children my age. And I'll tell you, to this day, I am friends with many of what we call the Greystone gals. We kept friendships over the years. Of course, there were times we had, when we, went off to college and got married, children, there were gaps. But on the whole, and to this day, about 12 of us try to get together since this pandemic through a Zoom every other week. So it's been very special, very special.
That is great to have that kind of long-term relationship.
Yes.
And I assume that one of the things that happened as you grew up and you went to Gorton High School, you probably found a teacher or two that you especially liked. Do you remember any particular teacher?
I do, but the one that really played such an important part in my life, building my confidence, was Mrs. Schwartz. She was my geometry teacher, and I can even remember the incident when I was taking the Regents, and I was always afraid, and she was building my confidence, and I did very, very well. I got her to A on the Regents, and she came to the door of one of my classrooms, I don't know which one, and I remember sticking her head in and kind of getting my attention and saying, you gotta, I think it was like a 94 or something, whatever it was, and it was very special, and she just encouraged me, and to this day, I ultimately ended up being a science and a math teacher, and didn't think I could do all of that, and I did, and pursued some very interesting things in my career, and I really attribute a lot of it to her.
What was that like, being an educator? And how long did you do this? And
oh my gosh. I'm still doing it. I do a lot of volunteer work in the schools with special programs. It's phenomenal. I always wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know if I could. And just that I've had the most incredible experiences, and I really, very positive experiences. And to the point where I was even asked to do STEM activities with teachers all over the United States, predominantly during the summers when I wasn't working, and through Goddard Space Center, through NASA, which was really very interesting. And I'm still doing just interesting things with children with special needs. They're called twice exceptional. They are learning disabled but gifted. So I volunteer and work on programs with them. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, we're not, meeting with them. We used to meet with them once or twice a week.
It's interesting because you mentioned Alice Schwartz as your teacher. Do you see that you've done anything like her? Like, has she been sort of a mentor in a sense, even though she hasn't been around, but just the experience?
I hope so. I hope I encouraged so many of my students. But the interesting thing is, I moved into a community many years ago, and I'm still here over 30 years, where many of the children were in my classes all through elementary and then middle school, and my kids' friends. And to this day, of course, I know about them. They might have gone off and done things, but they all contact me, and that's been special. And some of them have had some challenges. So I hope I've done that. I'm sure I've made my mistakes along the way. Educators do that, but I really think, I think some of the workshops that I've done with parents as a school administrator, every child has gifts. A lot of parents didn't recognize that their child has a gift. I don't care what they are, we can find those gifts. And that's kind of what
That's really very exciting to hear that you obviously have made a difference. And one of the ways you can tell that is the response that comes later on.
Yes, I have gotten beautiful notes, and through social media now, people find you, and I remember you, picky Parizer. I've gotten that comment, things like that.
And I'm sure that's very well earned, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Now, I know you've mentioned to me in the past that you always would put the student first. And was there a principal or somebody else who sort of helped you sort of see that line?
Yes, principal when I was an assistant principal, and she was trying to explain more her philosophy that yes, you want to make sure your staff is happy and doing the right thing, but really when you need to make a decision, it's about the kids. And she was not liked by staff because I think she was hard, but she really opened my eyes to really thinking about what the most important thing is for that child. And there, again, with a lot of challenges, some of them. So, yep, she's definitely one. She'll be happy to hear that because most people did not care for her, honestly, which was sad.
Yeah, but the reason that we got into education was to make a difference for the kids.
Right. But I remember at this point I was an assistant principal. So, teachers, you want to make sure they're doing the right thing, and they had their ways, and it might not have been what you felt, so it was, again, think about the child before.
Yes. Well, the idea to have an institutional perspective is very important, because then it's not just about me, it's about the broader range.
That's exactly it.
Yes, and I can tell that that's how you feel. And talking about the broader community, I know you're very involved with community service. How did that happen, and what are some of the ways that you do community service?
I got involved early on with, we call it in Tikkun Olam, am I pronouncing that right? Tikkun Olam, saving the world, repairing the world, not saving the world, just repairing. So I do a lot with that. And then since I'm retired, I'm in my 13th year, retired from going day to day, working. I was able to get involved with issues for the state of Maryland, local issues. We've gotten already the $15 minimum wage passed in my county, things like that. I work on, I speak in Annapolis, meet in, lobby, that kind of stuff. And then I also, through this pandemic, work a lot with Feeding America through the MANA food program right now, and as well as volunteering in schools, helping children develop anything they want. I just bring in the happy, fun stuff, fun science experiments and things like that that they don't get to do necessarily.
It's sort of an interesting thing, because I know you've told me that one of your favorite songs is Never Walk Alone. And it sounds like that is consistent with what you're doing with community service. And I presume you've also done this with your own children.
Yes.
How has that song influenced you?
Well, Never Walk Alone is, when you're walking through a storm, hold your head up high, that's the beginning. And you'll never walk alone. Things can be rough, especially now, you can imagine. And then with my own family or my own self, I did have a medical issue, a very, very, not so great. But is that you?
No, keep going.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, so between community and my family, I never had to be alone during this. And then I also encourage my own children who have their passions. I never worried about, they had to be on, the honor roll doing the best reading project, or, it wasn't about that. Pursue your passions, and we'll all be there for you, no matter, even if things get tough in life.
And when you say things getting tough, you certainly have had some health issues, but it sounds like you use that never walk alone and being positive as a way to deal with that.
Absolutely, absolutely, because we have to, unfortunately, that's life. There are going to be some major challenges, hopefully not horrible for people, but there are major challenges right now, and know that you're not going to walk alone. And I think by, going and delivering food to needy people, which I've been doing, and it's, donating, things that people might need. Don't worry, we will get through things.
Stefanie, I think that's a perfect note to end on, the idea that we will get through all of the different, whether political or economic or social issues.
Absolutely. And my other favorite song is Let's Get Loud. Just continue life, be positive, and we'll dance at the reunion, God willing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you.